Hello, my name is Leandro Mozzoni. I'm an associate professor at the University of Arkansas System, Division of Agriculture, and I'm a soybean breeder and geneticist. Today I'm going to give an update of the progress we made in 2020 in our breeding program, as well as the research ongoing for 2021. But let's start from the beginning and talk about why a soybean program at the University of Arkansas, right? What's the value? And we're mandated to three goals. We need to develop people, we need to develop research, and we need to develop products, right? We need to grow the next generation of products that farmers, or develop next generation of products that farmers can plant in the state and in the Mid-South. We need to produce research that then either farming or industry can take and benefit from and advance the soybean economy. And also we need to develop people. We are at the university, we need to train new students, we need to train new assistants that then can move into the private sector and also help grow the economy. And so we are standing here today in front of a foundation field, right? So we're starting at the tail end of a pipe. We're talking about growing products, right? These are materials that the breeding program have developed over a number of years, and they are right now in production through the Foundation Seed Program at the Division of Agriculture, and they are available for multiplicators, seed companies to take the lines and sell it to farmers. I'm really excited because we actually have one new product released in 2020, that it's an indeterminate Group 4, mid Group 4 variety, something we haven't had pretty much ever at the University of Arkansas. The product name is UA46I20C. It's a long product name, but it has a meaning. So 46 stands for the relative maturity. It's a 4.6. The little I that you can see on the Foundation Seed Program website stands for indeterminate, right? So in soybeans we have lines that grow and then flower, and those are the typical old Group 5 materials. But then the newer genetics, they grow and flower at the same time, and those are indeterminates, and those are very important for early production system. And so this new Group 4 product is indeterminate. The 20 stands for the year of release, right? We released it in 2020, and then the C in their code, it's because it's a conventional product, right? Most of our effort, it's in conventional. We have some glyphosate tolerant, those are off-patent materials. We released one last year in 2019, so 2 years ago. It's a UA54I19 GT, and you could probably figure out that it was a 5.4 indeterminate glyphosate tolerant line based on the name. And we have a lot more products in the pipe, right? So in pre-foundation, right now we have about 50 lines that could become a commercial product. Of course, the odds are against them because we are very strict in what we advance based on performance. So 90% of those lines will never see the light of day, but we need to produce seed in case we need to release it as a product. We did a little economic analysis on the performance of UA46I20C using the yield data of the 2 years in the state variety trials. And we looked at the soybean price at Chicago Board of Trade for June 23rd. And we used the University of Arkansas enterprise budgets. And so using the standard operations listed in the enterprise budgets for a furrow irrigated soybeans, we showed that it is a profitable enterprise for the state, right? So using those numbers, the net profit was around $380. May not be the best possible alternative you have within testing all the variety trials, but it's definitely an option that helps you diversify risk and has a different platform than anything else. And so we believe it's a good product for farmers in the state. The highlight of the year is UA46I20. It's a line that did well in the state variety trials 2 years in a row. It did well in Arkansas. It found a pocket in southeast Kansas and in the East Coast for whatever reason. But it's a line that we looked at resistance for stem canker and frog eye, those are very important diseases in the state, and it's a resistant variety to those diseases. It has a good tolerance score to metribuzin. It's a conventional line. It doesn't handle well southern root knot nematode. So if you have a field with that problem, you may not want to plant this variety. And we also tested it under flooding conditions, and this was a year where we had a lot of flood and didn't handle flood very well. But it's a product that we are hoping to deploy it as the first entry product that we have at the university, and that with the course of years we can have a much greater group of companions that are going to be a step above and beyond this new variety. Products like UA46I20C take a long time to develop, right? Anywhere from 7 to 9 years. And in that process is where the research and development part of our program kicks in, right? So we do a lot of yield testing in shorter plots, like these ones that we're seeing here. It's a long process. Every year we make about 500 new combinations, taking genetics from different varieties and combine them, developing populations. That then they are advanced over multiple years until we have uniform lines that can be put into testing. So in the first observational test, we do anywhere from 20 to 40,000 lines, and then year over year, we test in the thousands. So this past year, we have right now 6,000 lines, new potential varieties in replicated trials all over Arkansas and the Mid-South. So it's a very long and intensive program. And through all of those years of testing, 3 to 5 years, we try to identify new candidates for products, as well as new candidates for parents, so we can actually recycle those lines and continue our breeding program. Our breeding program, it's focused about 40% of our efforts in commodity, right? Regular farmer type soybeans. We do have about 40% of our efforts funded through specialty grants to work on specialty soybeans like food grade or improved composition. And then about 20% of our efforts are in genetic studies, and those are important so we can maintain the pipeline going in the future. Those are long-term studies. A key highlight for 2020 is that we added a little piece to our puzzle of breeding. Most of what we develop are commodity materials, conventional, right? We were able to access Enlist as a trait technology. And so we are adding on the tail end of the pipe a conversion process in which we take a finished line, and through crosses with that trait, we will develop a version of that line with that trait package. It's an additional 4 to 5 years to develop, right? So it's a much longer timeline. We started that process in 2020. We have 3 different waves because we cannot make it shorter, but we're trying to limit the delay so that by the time we hit 2024, 2025, we're only going to be 1 year behind. The first wave will be later, but by initiating our conversion earlier in that pipeline, we hope to have a 1 to 2 year delay between the release of a conventional line and then 2 years later come back with the traded version of that same variety into the marketplace. We opened Enlist because that trade was available for us. We're actually working and looking at options to expand to other trade platforms also available to the farmers in the state. So that's a very important development. Like I said, by 2024, we hope to have about 10 products that can be released with that trait technology. I mentioned that our program is about 40% commodity, right? Those are regular soybeans, as you see here. A key mandate when I started in 2017, this breeding program was to switch from group 5s into early maturities, because that's where the acres are. And it was challenging because we had only about 20% group 5s at the time. We set up a stretch goal of 70% group 4s by 2021. So I'm here today reporting that we nearly make it. We are at 68% group 4s and earlier. And that's, to me, it was a very stretch goal. I think we can claim that we made it. because not only we have, as you can see on that chart, a solid pipe of early group 4s and late group 4s and even group 3s, but also we have a solid pipeline across all the stages where we have early maturities and late maturity. So we are creating a stable platform for future product development. And so that's a critical delivery that we were able to accomplish in 2020. As we look at the specialty projects, our maturity mix is different because our needs are different. We have research in that specialty project arena that are sponsored by local companies who definitely need group 5 soybeans for their production practices. So our maturity mix in that specialty, it's heavily biased towards 5s, but for the projects that can afford moving earlier, for instance, some of the higher protein work we do, or some of the flat tolerance, we're trying to introgress the early maturity into those trait platforms as well. And so the key highlights for our program in 2020, if I have to summarize, are we were able to deliver and release a mid-group 4 conventional product that we're very proud of, and we hope to find a home and to use it as a platform to launch new materials from. We were able to initiate the trait conversion into Enlist. That is also a key deliverable to access more Arkansas farmer acres, and not just the commodity conventional materials, but also looking at some of the traded acres in the state. And we were able to reach the group 4 goal, right? Switching our program into mainly breeding earlier maturity materials. So that's, if we go back to the beginning when I said that our deliverables were products, research, and people, that takes care of all the products. In terms of research, we had some really cool research we developed in 2020 and we published looking at some of the newer technologies like the speed breeding work. We are working with drones. We're working with genomic selection. So those are really cool things that we're doing in 2020 and we're continuing in 2021. And then in terms of developing people, we graduated 2 graduate students in the last 2 years. So overall, we had a great success in 2020. We're continuing that in 2021. And all the success happens because there's people that do all the hard work. I'm just a face talking. All the people that work in my program are the ones actually working really, really hard. And I have to thank them for all the work they do. And we are actually able to work because we have sponsors that really support us. The Division of Agriculture, the Arkansas Soybean Promotion Board, the United Soybean Board, the Mid-South Soybean Board, the USDA, and our industry partners. So thank you very much to all of them for their support.